There's no way to sugarcoat this. Every single one of our favorite movie and video game characters who had to swim a long distance underwater or hold their breath to escape enemies, poisonous gas, or fire probably drowned doing it. It's not just that underwater scenes are unrealistic in general, it's that they stretch believability to its breaking point, so they can manually tear jerk us when the hero survives the unsurvivable. In this video on Nerd Explains, I'll tell you why underwater survival is easily one of the most underestimated challenges in movies and video games. I'll tell you why your heroes will drown. Whether it's two rapidly aging adults in the movie Old swimming through a tunnel of coral, or Tom Cruise holding his breath for 6 minutes in Mission Impossible, trying to do anything underwater is probably going to be the last mistake we ever make. Until this very second, I bet most of you weren't even thinking about breathing. You are now though. Now try to stop thinking about it. Almost impossible, right? It sounds so simple, but breathing is what we do. Breathing is so important to our survival. Our bodies don't even trust us to remember to do it. They automated that shit. When an adult man takes the deepest breath he can, he's sucking in about 6 liters of air. But our lungs need oxygen too, so we're left with around 4.8 liters of air after they take their cut. And that's only if we go full monk mode. No chain smoking, no mining, no living where the smog hurts your face. Our average lung capacity doesn't change without training. In a life or death situation, we might push our lungs to the limit to keep us alive. But our limit amounts to about 3 2-liter soda bottles worth of air. This is why we breathe faster when we exercise, or when we're cold or scared. Our bodies demand more oxygen to function properly, so we increase the number of breaths we take per minute. This is the crux of the problem with underwater stunts. Being able to accomplish any mission underwater comes down to 2 simple metrics: how much air we can take in, and how fast we burn through it. Let's take a look at Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible Rogue Nation stunt. His character, Ethan, plunges down through a cooling system's tunnels into an underwater vault to exchange security profiles. He's given 3 minutes to accomplish this stunt, but gets knocked off course by a mechanical arm, of course, forcing him to remain underwater for 6.5 minutes to complete the mission. It's not hard for the average person to hold their breath for 3 minutes, let alone a seasoned secret agent runner like Ethan Hunt. He's doing his Wim Hof breathing. He's in deeper water, so the water pressure is momentarily on his side, and he's got his super cool O2 dive suit on. And he did remember to bring goggles so he can actually see underwater. The only problem is, none of that would be enough. Hunt has just Halo jumped into this facility past armed guards that would love nothing more than to put a bullet right between his eyes if they catch him. If the stress hasn't already jacked up his heart rate, then he's a literal robot. Benji warns him not to move a muscle if he doesn't have to, right before he spends 0 time deep breathing, which, let's be real, those box breathing exercises you do after your smartwatch yells at you in red letters that you have high stress never help. After which, he leaps over and off an elevated platform through a precision opening where a strong current forces him through the bowels of a machine before spitting him into a vortex. His heart rate is pounding. His body's reacting to the shock of chilled water, and his countdown timer started before he leapt off, so he's losing precious breath before he even reaches his target. Then, the robo-arm knocks the literal wind out of him. You see all those bubbles? Yeah, so much for the 4.8 liters of stored oxygen. Now, he's using the reserves his windbags need to keep working. He's swimming against a mechanically generated current, exhausting himself to death. And when he lets go and flows with the current, he risks slamming into the robot arm or into the pointy hazards that stud every wall in the vault. That additional required situational awareness and mental energy usage is also burning through O2. And remember, his single deep breath doesn't just have to carry him through the mission, it has to get him out of the water too. In the end, he doesn't even make it. Ilsa has to swim along and save him koala bear style by pulling a plunger on the whole thing. For this unsurvivable stunt, Tom Cruise trained for months with freediving legend Kirk Crack, who also trains elite special forces soldiers. How did they not do it? They increased his lung capacity and efficiency by doing breath holding exercises daily to acclimate his body to the extreme conditions of the stunt. More importantly, Cruise went through rigorous mental training to learn how to calm the down to still his mind and strategize at the point where the rest of us would be scrambling for a random pocket of air. Most people who hold their breaths for insane periods of time also train to go into a meditative state to lower their O2 burn rate. In 2021, a 56-year-old free diver from Croatia named Budimir Sobat, I'm probably butchering that, beat the world record for the longest held breath with his time of 24 minutes and 37.36 seconds. It's an incredible accomplishment, but he trained for months and then held that breath while completely still floating in the water. And most critically, he hyperventilated his system with pure oxygen beforehand. The longest breath record without pure oxygen is held by Stefan Mifsud, also probably butchered that, at 11 minutes and 35 seconds. He also remained completely still in a meditative state while floating in the water. I'm not on old Tommy Boy's achievement. Well, I am, but he was able to hold his breath for 6.5 minutes and one take that underwater stunt in Mission Impossible. But he was also well trained. There were no unknowns, none of the movie stress, cheated with pure O2, hyperventilation beforehand, and was surrounded by a lot of people who would have never worked again if he drowned. In the real world, he's dying a horrible death, convulsing uncontrollably in the vault as his lungs feel like they're being stabbed by thousands of knives and a burning sensation rips through his chest and neck. In the video game Uncharted 4, Nathan survives a gunfight before an RPG knocks the stranded ship he's in off a cliff, sinking to the bottom with him inside. There are still a few pockets of air to pull from when the ship begins to sink, but when those air pockets disappear, he's forced to find a way out or drown. Eventually, he finds an underwater cave tunnel that leads straight to the surface. But of course, that's not gonna happen to you. It's sheer luck that he survived the ship falling still conscious, let alone without a concussion. His body hits the water under a massive maze of torn wood. It's hailing heavy boxes, shattered glass, and cannons. He's completely disoriented, heart rate still jacked from the firefight, burning his O2 at an exceptionally high rate. There's no way to tell up from down, or a clear corridor from a literal dead end. Each time he does a breath hold to swim around and look for an exit or to reach another pocket of air, he's stressing his body out more, making the next dive even more challenging. When the ship submerges fully, stripping him of his access to air, he'd be swimming around in an underwater minefield of loose debris and clouds of sand as the ship hits the ocean floor. He wouldn't be able to see Maybe if he's lucky, the dust clears before his 3 minutes run out and he can see the light from the surface through the windows, which is what he should be breaking to escape. An underwater cave? Are you kidding me? The Lost City tried to pull this with a sedentary romance writer and her cover model. They escape an erupting volcano by swimming blind into an underwater cavern. The worst place to find yourself when you're out of breath and out of stamina. If there's a current, swimming against it will drain you, but letting it pull you along will smash you into sharp boulders or pin you in corners. And that's if the cave leads anywhere at all. For all they know, this water's flowing through a porous wall, offering no chance of escape at the other end, while you roast alive in quickly boiling volcano water. The video game Dying Light is super guilty of driving its main character, Kyle Crane, into extensive underwater tunnel swims through the rotten bowels of Haran to reach quest goals and escape deadly night volatiles. He's suffering through a debilitating sickness. He's exhausted. His stamina is constantly strained by the insane parkour he's forced to do to escape virals. And then, on top of all that, he's up against terrifying monsters he's never encountered before. He doesn't know their physiology or their survival instincts. He doesn't even know if they can swim until he tests that theory by getting chased into the water as a last resort. His body is aching, pushed to its limits before he even enters the water. Then he has to swim through tunnels without knowing how long they are, how complex they might be, or if they lead anywhere at all. They are dark, murky, and disorienting. One wrong turn, one miscalculated distance, one burr catching on his clothing, one locked metal grate or clogged pipe later, and with no remaining air left to turn back, his corpse is adding flavor to the local water supply. All these examples more or less stick to the bounds of actual reality, but the most sinful scene has to be in M. Night Shyamalan's Old, in which an 8-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl get trapped on a magic beach where they age into their 50s overnight. To escape, they successfully attempt a swim through a 50-meter tunnel of coral on a single breath. Is that an impossible stretch of water to swim without breathing? No, but it is challenging challenging. In the second phase of Navy SEAL BUDS training, BUDS candidates are forced to swim 50 meters on one breath. These incredibly fit, competent swimmers pass out all the time. But remember, in old, these were kids who became middle-aged adults overnight. A kid's lung capacity is only a third of an adult's, and our lung capacity slowly degenerates after the age of 35. Basically, while they can take in the air of an adult, they have neither the training nor the years of acclimatization to use it properly. Not to mention, they're still rapidly aging every second they're swimming until they reach the end of the coral. Oh, and their form is horribly, ungodly inefficient. I can hear you now. Actually, nerd, adrenaline can make our heroes perform inhuman level feats. Sure, our real-world fight-or-die response is epic, borderline superhero. To that I would say, you're right, when you're on land. Adrenaline causes temporary changes to your body by increasing your heart rate and helping you breathe faster. Guess what you can't do underwater? That's right, you can't breathe, let alone breathe faster. All adrenaline is doing is increasing your body's O2 burn rate. That's not good. Actually, that's really bad. Maybe the biggest suspension of disbelief in these movies and games is actually doing anything other than swimming when you're in the water. In Alien Resurrection, Ripley's leading the mercenaries through an obstacle course of pipes and metal gangways when two xenomorphs begin chasing them through the water. The assistant pilot, Hillard, panics, getting tangled in her gun straps before offloading them and making a break for the rest of the group. She can't swim fast enough, and a xenomorph drags her to her death. Have you ever seen one of those shark videos where a great white suddenly appears out of the murky water, its sharp grin and lifeless eyes pointed straight at you? This is 10 times worse. Imagine the sheer panic coursing through your veins as one of these grinning killing machines silently materializes behind you, expertly swimming towards you at Michael Phelps speeds, purely determined to eviscerate you and put an alien baby in your stomach. These mercs stood no chance. They didn't tie off their gear correctly. Their clothing is loose, their boots heavy. One even has another dude strapped to his back, pulling himself along the floor like a weird crab. They are literally screaming at each other underwater. Dumb. Nobody can hear you, and you just exhaled precious liters of air you need to reach the tunnel exit. If you have to accomplish anything underwater, your body's gonna run out of oxygen the same way a character fighting on land will, except there won't be a chance to take another breath. You'll just die. If you can't stay calm, you die. If you can't keep 100% focus on the single breath you do have and open your mouth instinctively, you die. If you forget to leave a portion of that breath reserved for escaping from the water after you've completed your mission, you die. In Poseidon, crew survivors have to tease their way through a debris-scattered corridor full of frigid ocean water to reach the stairwell. Halfway through, Elena's clothing snags on a torn coil of wire. She panics, jettisoning her air without even thinking about it. She flails, getting more tangled. She jerks back, propelling her head into the sharp edge of a metal door. She drowns in seconds. If she had just remained calm and waited for one of the others to realize she wasn't behind them, they could have saved her. But her fear, her fight-or-flight instinct, cost her remaining oxygen and her life. This is more of a realistic example of what would actually happen. Another great example of the terrifying realities of underwater stunts is the Sylvester Stallone B-movie Daylight from 1996. A bunch of commuters driving through a tunnel under the Hudson River get trapped after a tunnel partially collapses. Ordinary people must attempt multiple breath-holding maneuvers to escape to the surface. In the end, Sly and another commuter are sucked to the surface of the Hudson River 70 feet overhead after detonating an explosive. All of that is ludicrous and nigh impossible, but what I appreciate is their tunnels are slowly filling with chilly 18-degree Fahrenheit water. Everyone is hypothermic before they ever attempt to swim through the fallen debris. This means their muscles are stiff. The maximum rate of oxygen their bodies can use is significantly decreased, and their organs are starting to shut down. One of the commuters dies this way. I'm not saying surviving for long stretches underwater is impossible. We've seen plenty of real people do it. I'm saying that even the most basic underwater scene in some of these movies reaches Bollywood levels of disregard for physiology without us even realizing it. Even the most skilled cave divers on the planet would probably agree that getting caught in any of these situations would nearly certainly end with you becoming fish food. Underwater stunts truly belong to the movies and games, where everything is possible and realism is a device used to make the level more difficult or an obstacle seem more challenging. What other insane underwater scenes can you think of where the character would have had to be a superhero demigod to survive them. Or let me know if you have a favorite underwater scene that shows off just how physically challenging doing something underwater would actually be. Sound off in the comments.